All right. I'm going to move this back just a little bit. There we go. All right. How you doing? Hey, this is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres, and today's October 2nd and of 2019. And this will be today's installment of the Anyone Can Farm live chat session. Okay. I'm Mark and I'm your host coming to you from Baker's Green Acres in lovely downtown Marion, Michigan. And I'd like to welcome you to my home and welcome you to Baker's Green Acres Farm. I guess I'm just going to start off a little bit with what today was about around here. You can see I've got a cup of tea going here. No more coffee this time of night. Well, we're in fall mode for sure. And I am working on some projects to improve our dwelling here for the upcoming winter. And I made a video the other day that was about life on the homestead. And it was about 11 o'clock at night. It would have been Monday night. And we were, no, it wasn't quite that late. It was about 9 o'clock and we were having a campfire here. And the kids headed in and Jill headed in. And I just went out to take care of something. And one of the kids come out and said, "Mom says there's no water." So like out here in the perimeter, we're not on city water. So if there's something wrong with the water, it's our own equipment that's not working properly. So I went out to look at it and it was throwing a breaker and it hadn't done that before. And that can mean that the pump is gone. It can mean that. And so as I was walking out there I thought I was going to be replacing the pump. I communicated that, well, this is part of homesteading, and I've never changed this pump before, but today's the day because we have to have water. We really have to have water. I thought about calling somebody. Matter of fact, I even called him, but they were so full. He wasn't going to even be able to get back to me until the afternoon. And I thought, what am I doing? Practice what you preach. You need to know how all this stuff works. So I thought I'm going to make a video and just tell people that this is the way it goes. I mean, you have good days, you have bad days. The day prior, I made a video saying that, hey, I'm working on a project in the house. I'm finally building a hearth for my wood stove to go on. And this is the way it goes here. Right behind me, well, you can't see it, but see that chimney? I built that 10 years ago, and it's ugly. But that's kind of the way it goes sometimes is you build something, and as soon as it's working, as soon as it's functional, we'll take care of the ugly later. 10 years later, now I'm going to take care of the ugly. So actually, I'll just show you real quick. I'm building a hearth, and that's the base of it. And then there's going to be stones that go on that to smooth it out. And then I'm going to use field stones all the way up the side of the chimney. So I am working on my latest, thing that I want to do is I want to do stone masonry. I want to be able to take stones that I find and be able to make really nice things out of them because there's stones everywhere. And it just so happens I was in a country for a while where there are no stones because people build everything with them. So people are constantly going to the river, and every time a stone gets turned up, they nail it. So let's see. So anyway, that's what I was working on. But then I found out that, now I have to divert and I have to get this pump fixed. So I went out there, and that requires that I remove a lot of dirt, get down to where the pressure tank is and the switch, and then I was going to have to pull this pump out of the well casing, and I've never done it before. But as I was doing that, I found a wire that was shorted out against a switch casing. And I could see a little burn mark on it. And I took that wire off, I cut it, put it back on, screwed it in, and the pump came on and it was great. So for several hours there, I was thinking my day has been totally disrupted. And now I have to venture into an area that I don't know about, and I really didn't want to. But when it was over, I thought, okay, we preach that you should know how everything on your homestead works. That's part of it. You're homesteading. You don't want to be calling the repairman to come and then give you a bill for $500 when he leaves. You don't want that. You want to be able to take care of everything on your homestead. If something you can't figure out how it works and you can't swap it out quickly, get it out of there. Get rid of it. And as things break, you just gotta say, well, if this repairman can fix it, then I can fix it. And if I were to hold your hand and walk you through a lot of these processes, as people have with me, then you know how to do it, and it can be done. So the point was, I attacked this problem, and I was uncomfortable doing it. I found the problem before I got to the place where I had to take the pump out. But I watched a video on YouTube of how to do it, of another guy that had the same problem. And I kind of know how to do it, even though I didn't do it. But I figured out the problem. And as I sat there in all this nice, fresh dirt in the middle of a beautiful field, just beautiful day, except it was raining, I thought, I'm really gonna embrace this victory. I'm gonna embrace it. And I did. And all day long, I felt good that I got that done. And usually my wife gives me a, pat on the back. She hasn't yet, but she will. And I feel pretty good about things. So anyway, that's what life has been about around here. I got some friends coming this weekend. And so I'd kind of like to have this hearth done. Plus, it's getting cold. We're supposed to get our first frost coming this Saturday. So I'd kind of like to have that hearth done so I can have the wood stove on there going. Wood stove sitting right here now. Be kind of in my way building that. But let's see. A little housekeeping. Homestead Hog Harvest is coming on the 1st of November here at Baker's Green Acres, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We start with live pigs. We end up with bacons, sausages, prosciuttos, all that stuff. So we go through all that stuff. The only thing you don't get to do is shoot the animal. You can shoot your own animal. But if you need to learn how to shoot a gun, or you want to practice on something else, we can certainly do that. We can certainly help you out with that. But it's a lot of hands-on time. Everybody gets to cut and break down, scald, scrape, all that stuff. Very hands-on. Our goal is that on your return, you'll be able to knock down a pig at your place and totally butcher it. And we go through a lot of the attitudes towards it. We're going to be doing that one. That's November 1st. But October 20th, we're going to be doing one at Shady Grove Farm in the Upper Peninsula. It's in Gwinn, Michigan. If you need information on that, contact us through bakersgreenacres.com, and we can get you lined out on that. Okay, and I have 3 Great Pyrenees puppies left, all white females. Last time, everybody wanted white females. This time, people wanted badger males, so go figure. But 3 of them are left.
Want to see a puppy?
Yeah, I'm sure everybody wants to see a puppy. Some of them are really nice. I mean, usually the ones that get left here, they develop their personalities, and then when you go out in the morning, they greet you, tails wagging and everything, and kind of hate to see them go. There's still Which one is this?
Polly.
This is Polly. This is the kid's absolute favorite puppy. Her heart's not even beating fast. Hey, Polly, aren't you a good girl? Yeah, you're such a good girl. But these are Great Pyrenees puppies. They're guardian dogs. They're really nice dogs to have too, and they keep your livestock really, really safe. Oh, look at that. That is just so cute. And my son said one time, I need one of these in my life. The sad part of this is if these puppies don't sell, we'll just have to knock them in the head and throw them in a hole. I'm so sad to tell you that. Okay, but you had a good life. You had a good life. Okay, I'm gonna put you down, Polly. All right. So that's housekeeping there. I want to memorize you that we have all of our videos are available on YouTube, Baker's Green Acres YouTube. I got some input from a guy the week before last, and I haven't gotten back to you. You know, I'm sorry about that, but it was a very heartfelt message about our videos being kind of squashed. And if you haven't noticed this, if you don't spend much time on YouTube or you don't make any content, you probably wouldn't know. But I think we fall into the category that the Silicon Valley people don't really like. So, you know, because we talk about constitution, self-sufficiency, and, you know, doing real live things. And it seems as though YouTube is geared more towards dopey stuff, you know. So we don't get many views. We used to. When a controversy is going on, it seems like you get plenty of views. But so if you could help us out and share these, that'd be good. You know, the goal here is just to kind of spread the word, keep it fresh in everybody's mind. Homesteading business, you're always preparing for the next opportunity. You know, I would really like to have a massive, massive audience that I can pontificate to about homesteading, because I am really into this. And I think there's a lot of other people out there that are really into it. And the more people we have, the more input that we have. And maybe someday we could have it so instead of a person typing in a message, that they could just, you know, their face could show up and they could ask the question. I would really like that if we could do something like that. But okay, we've got questions. Please give us a thumbs up and share us if you can. And the input is really good for algorithmic purposes. But if it stays like this, that's fine. I mean, if I invited everybody in the planet over to my house and 10 people showed up, that'd be fine. It really would be fine. I don't know what I'd do with everybody on the planet. And some of you I've gotten to know through Facebook. I've got to see your operations, and it's really pretty neat. We have on Facebook, we have a group called the Anyone Can Farm Tribe. And that's where it's invitation only, or I mean, it's a private group, so you got to ask to join. We haven't turned anybody down, but it's just if somebody wants to whine about the content. I mean, we're farmers. We're not vegetarians, and we do process animals, and we like to talk about that a lot. And we like to talk about the uncomfortable things. And so I don't have to listen to a bunch of whiners on there. If they whine, they can just go someplace else. So if you'd like, go to Facebook and Anyone Can Farm Tribe, and we'll let you in. All right. And I've been posting stuff on there lately, you know, videos and stuff. So let's see. Have we got some? My lovely secretary is right here by my side, and this is actually her phone. Mine's not working very well. There she is. Oh, I have something else to pass on. This is very important. About 2.5 weeks ago, my oldest son, who is a paramedic and a fireman, this is going to take a little bit, but this is really awesome. This is really awesome. he had a call, and him and his partner went in an ambulance, and they had a man, 55-year-old man, who had a heart attack. And they worked on him for an hour and a half, and he died, which was very tragic. My son told me, I will never forget the color of that guy, as we were working on him. They got back to the firehouse. They were putting the ambulance back together, cleaning everything out. There's lots of gross stuff. And they're just settling down, thinking that let's go back to bed. And 2 a.m, they got a call that a woman's water had broke. And they showed up there. It was a good operation. Just so happens her husband was away. He's up on the North Slope. He's an engineer with the oil company, had left for a couple of days. She was 2 weeks out from her due date. Water breaks. She doesn't have a car. They're new in the area. Called 911. Kyle showed up. They were on their way to the hospital 4 minutes out. And an EMT, what they're supposed to do is stabilize the patient till they get to the hospital. She said, I think he's coming. He took one look. The baby had crowned. They call it crowning, when about this much of the baby's head is right out, and it's just maybe only out that far. It's like the point of no return. And to stabilize that, you would hold it until you got to the hospital. 4 minutes, right? But the baby was the same color as the guy that died. And so Kyle made the decision at that moment, push. And he was able to get the umbilical cord out around the baby's neck. That released the baby right into his hands. Baby pinked right up, and he delivered his first baby, which I thought was pretty cool. And he was a very ecstatic young man. Most firemen never get to do that. But when you're a fireman and you get to deliver a baby, they give you a little stork pin to wear on your uniform. And you also get a stork sticker that goes on the fire engine, which is pretty cool. All right? So,
Fun on the Homestead.
Great story.
Said, way to go, Kyle.
Fun on the Homestead. We haven't seen Fun on the Homestead here for a while. So I'm glad you're here. All right. Let's go. Let's get some questions going. We're into this 17 minutes.
Hey, Haven wondered if we run any beef. Or if we're going to get into
What's the name again?
Haven, the zoo.
Haven, the zoo. Yeah, we do run beef. So I do. I'm a grazer. So yeah, I have several beef cows. Yes, I do.
And they're a beef dairy cross, right? And they're doing good on grass.
Yeah, they do really good. As a matter of fact, well, you didn't ask me this, but if you're from around here, you see a lot of black and white cows, and the word on the street, and I've even heard it at this kitchen table, is Holsteins don't do good on grass. Come here and look at the Holsteins that I've had out on grass all summer long. That's all I can say. All right. They are bigger than they call them Holsteins. Around here, they just call them Holsteins, and they call everything else colored beef. Figure that one out. But my colored beef are not keeping up with the Holsteins on grass. This year was different for me. I made a single first cutting, and then I am grazing, and I'm going to try and make it until December 1st. And I think I can do that. So yes, I do beef, and I'm really into grazing. I think it is one of the coolest things to study and perform and actually do it. When I get to go out and move fences, I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool. So if there's more questions about grazing, I'll certainly get into it. But yes, I do beef. And I run my beef cows with my dairy cows. I have 3 dairy cows, and then I have 2 heifers that are not bred. All right, so they're open heifers. They would be first-year heifers once they're bred. So there you go. And one of my dairy cows, as soon as she calves, I'm going to sell her as a milk cow. So if anybody needs a really gentle milk cow, if not, we'll probably just dry her up and make her into hamburger because she's about 7 years old. It would make fine hamburger. And yeah, so.
Okay.
Got another question?
Yep. Same from Haven. Did
Haven.
you plant your pastures or were they already there? Do you know what grasses they're eating?
Oh yeah, I know what they're eating. And yeah, we did plant them. We have two different types of soil here. We have, and if you're from around here, you're familiar with these terms, low ground, which is more of a clay soil that holds moisture. And if it's someplace where there's a lot of moisture around, like the springs and stuff like that, it's low ground. It's hard to get on with equipment. It's not seen as the primo ground around here, because around here farmers like to use big tractors. Matter of fact, if you don't have a huge tractor and you go to the coffee shop, they'll laugh at you when you walk in, and they'll tell stories about you and everything. They make fun of you. But I have a small tractor, and I'm proud of it. But that low ground is what I would call sub-irrigated. So it stays green when in droughty weather, which we haven't seen that in a while around here. High ground, that's sandy loam, will be, be dry. And if you want good grass off of it, especially for a second cutting, you're going to have to irrigate. And irrigation is, that's comes off your bottom line. It's fun to do. I like to do it, but it does come off your bottom line because you have to get the water under pressure somehow. And usually that's diesel fuel, gasoline, or electric. So I'd rather not do it if I don't have to. And this year I didn't have to. And then there's lots of conversating we could do about rain falling out of the sky these days. And notice I'm not stressed about it, because the type of farming I'm doing, and being more of a grass farmer, it's not hurting me. And I made a video last week that I think is really pertinent to this. I wish there was some more in-depth questions about it, and then I'd go into it. But when you are a homesteader, what you want to strive for is resiliency in your property. You don't want it so, if you go, 7 weeks without rain, the place dries up and blows off the map. You don't want that. You want it to be able to handle a little bit of droughty weather or a lot of droughty weather. And same thing with if you have a lot of rain, which we've had a lot of rain recently. You don't want the fields to come apart into a muddy mess. And my fields have really held together. I haven't had to move my cows. Sometimes you would have to move them up to the barn and keep them there, because it just turns, the sod will just break apart under their hoofs with so much rain. But this year, no, I haven't had any problems like that. The walkways and stuff where they always walk, and they usually walk in a line, yeah, they break up, but I expect that there. And I never walk them on my hay fields. So what kind of grasses? On my high ground, I have timothy, alfalfa, and orchard grass. That mix seems to work good. And then whatever was here before I got here came up, along with quackgrass, which is every place in the whole planet. But it's good feed, and it's very tough. And then on the low fields, I have no alfalfa. And I did have one field, about a 4-acre field, that was planted in alfalfa and trefoil before I got here. And it's just in between two very wet fields, and it just grows fine. My wet fields, I don't cut the hay off, I just graze them. Another question?
Yep, this was one from earlier this week.
Funny name.
Kind of related. Could you address hay, haylage, baleage, silage for a small homestead and your experiences?
All right. we should probably talk the nomenclature on this because people don't always know what silage is, or haylage or baleage. But what it is, just go through silage. Silage is what you usually put in a silo, which would be corn, and they'll grow the corn to its fullest extent, and then they go through and they chop it, the whole thing, stalk and everything. The whole thing is chopped into pieces that are no longer than that. And then they blow it into a truck or a wagon of some sort, and then they take it someplace and they will blow it up into a silo. A silo is a great big round thing that's really up high. Not too many people use them anymore because they figured out a better way to do it. Now they have bunks, and they're just concrete pad a lot of times, and they just have a pile on there. And when they dump it on the pile, there'll be a machine, some sort of four-wheel drive tractor, heavy, that pushes it up onto the pile, and they drive up on it. And when they drive up on it, they push all the air out of it. Excuse me. And then some guys will cover them, and then it ferments, and that's the feed. That is silage. They do the same thing with hay or grass. They'll wait till it's as tall as they want it to be. They'll cut it. It's still wet, and they go through the same machine or similar machine, and they'll chop it, and then they'll do the same thing. They'll put it in a pile, and they'll roll over it, get the air out of it, and sometimes they cover it, sometimes they don't. There's another thing that you'll see around, and it's these long, they look like big caterpillars, and they're usually white. And they're bags is what they are. They're long bags, and they blow either haylage or silage into that. Baleage is when they bale up green hay, and then they wrap it. And I've only seen that with really with round bales and big squares. I've never seen anybody do small squares, but I haven't seen everything. So for the small farm, if you're going to buy it, then it might be a good deal. I bought it for a little while. Silage, the pigs will eat silage, the cows will eat silage, chickens will actually eat silage. Our problem with silage was that it's all genetically modified corn. Genetically modified corn, if you don't know, is genetically modified so that you can spray glyphosate on it. And glyphosate is being proved to be some really bad stuff. It's also known as Roundup.
And the pigs didn't do fabulous on it.
Yeah, the pigs didn't do good.
As a sole feed.
Yeah, pigs didn't do real good on it. And we kind of stopped because we do butcher a lot of our pigs, and we started seeing things that we hadn't seen before. And then a lot of information was coming out about glyphosate. And I'm just, I'm not into taking risks like that with my kids. And so I just quit it. Haylage, there's not a lot of glyphosate being sprayed on hayfields, not that I know of. They did come out with genetically modified alfalfa, but the way that would work is as soon as you had nothing but alfalfa out there, I don't think you'd continue to spray it with glyphosate. But I haven't seen it all. Baleage, if you were going to buy bales that were fermented bales, I think it'd be a pretty good idea. If you could get them cheap, sure. For feeding cows, it's definitely going to provide them with more than just a dry bale would, I think. Do you happen to know? Is it more nutritional value in a fermented bale?
Fresher, have more. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we don't know. I've seen it before, and when you smell it, it smells like silage, and silage is fermented, chopped up corn. When I first got here, I was working for a guy, and I would help do that. I would drive the trucks as they loaded. And then we were pushing it in bags with this machine that they had. And then a guy asked me if I'd go around and put these vent plugs on the bags at the end of the shift. And I said, sure. That's all he said to me, was just put them in. He showed me how to do it. So you just take a knife, you make a hole in the bag, you push these thing in, and they snap in, and that's it. But once you snap them in, this gas starts coming out. And I unwittingly went like that, and it went down into my lungs, and I could not get it out of me fast enough. And it was very unpleasant. And there was actually a young man that was killed here. It was a different situation. It had to do with a silo, and he jumped down in it, and there was silage gas, is what it's called, in there, and he was asphyxiated and died. Right, so it's bad stuff. So that's what I know about that. I did use it for a while. I used it for my cows too for a while because it was pretty plentiful around here. The guy that I was working for, I got it from him. But I haven't in a long time. I'm pretty content with the grass that grows in the field, and I'm content with the bales that I make off my own field. So I don't need it, is I guess the reason I don't use it. But if you have any more questions about it, I think I could probably help you. But that's what I know about it. He did say silage, haylage, and baleage, right? Was there anything else?
Haylage, baleage, silage. Yeah.
Okay.
You hit them all, I think. And
okay, what
Haven, did you see his comment? Oh, the haylage, the fermented hay, is more digestible. So that's its perk, because it's fermented.
Okay. There you go. Haven is informing us that it's more digestible, the silage is. And I also think the reason that they do that is because when it ferments, it will, the shelf life on it is better too. You know, like if you grow a bunch of cabbage and then you try to just keep cabbage heads through the winter, not gonna work out too well. But if you ferment it, then it will keep very well for you. So that's another reason why they do it. But thanks for the input, Haven. Do you have another question for me, ma'am?
Any thoughts on fodder systems like the sprouting of seeds?
Yeah, I have thoughts on it, but that's about it. Fodder systems, what it amounts to is, okay, a basic fodder system would be if you had a concrete pad and you spread some corn out on it or some small grains out on it, and then you watered it. And those grains or corn, whatever it was, would sprout. And the thought is that if you feed that, you're actually feeding the animals a more balanced ration than if it was just, let's say, a corn kernel, or let's say a barley kernel. So what they've done is they've made these systems that have trays, and I've seen guys put them in garages, and they've put them in Quonset huts, and they've put them in train cars and all kinds of things. And they spread the grains out on these trays and then water it. And then in the dark, those things will sprout, and they'll actually sprout to the point where they actually look like a welcome mat. You know, they'll get this high, and they call them fodder biscuits. So let's say the one that I saw up close and personal had a tray that was probably 24 inches wide and about 20 feet long, and they would plant it progressively. And once it was on a slight decline to the exit, and then once it was up high enough where they felt as though they could feed it, they would grab a hold of it and slide it on that tray out to the end in about a 4-foot section onto a wheelbarrow, and then cut it off with a knife, and then slide another one on top of it, cut it off with a knife. And so what you're wheeling out is a whole lot more weight than if you had just had the kernels of the grains or kernels of corn. So you get way more bang for your buck, and there's a whole lot more nutrition. And why I don't do it is because it's on the list, but because I have a bread disposal contract, I'm not hurting for feed. Matter of fact, I have to get innovative in ways to not let any of my bread go to waste. Like I like to make sure it doesn't go to waste. So yeah, I've sat in on at small farms conferences blocks on guys that build systems and design systems, and they put all the numbers out there, and it is fantastic what you can get. It requires that you're there, though, you know, where sometimes people are working, they have a big pig feeder and they're able to just throw tons and tons of feed in it. You know, that's a whole lot easier and doesn't require you to be there. But you know, and it would work for the house too. I mean, you can sprout alfalfa seeds, you can sprout wheat seeds, you know, all that stuff, and you can eat that too. So it's probably better than eating bread. I don't eat bread anymore. That answer it, you think?
I think
Let's get
so.
some questions going here, folks. Can you help me out? Looks like she's low on questions.
And I've got someone, if Iowa 887 would rephrase their question. It's a question having to do with the USDA exempt license, but I'm not sure exactly what the question is. So if they would please rephrase that and type it in.
Okay.
Somebody was wondering, just today I talked to her on the phone about trichinosis in pork and all of the cook it till it's dead instructions from the USDA.
Yeah.
Is that a real concern with pastured pork?
I don't think it is. What I've read about trichinosis is a parasite. And back in the day, I mean, even in my lifetime, we had a garbage man that came by the house, and he had this truck that was, it's just incredible what he did. But he went around, and at my parents' house, we had this thing outside that a special can would hang on there that you put nothing but garbage in it. This was before garbage disposals. And this guy came around, and my mother paid him to pick up the garbage. And there was everything in there from coffee grounds to potato peelings, you know. And that would go on a truck, and that truck smelled so bad. I never knew where he lived until we were on our way to a swimming place, and we went past the pig farm, and it smelled just like that truck. It was horrible. So they were feeding out pigs, and they were feeding them garbage, and they used to feed them just raw garbage. And the trichinosis parasite got going, and it would flourish in that environment with a lot of, you know, uneaten garbage, because the pigs just had more than they could possibly eat. So it was just a decaying meat, and this place was horrible, you know, that we would even consider eating what came out of there. It was just beyond me, but that's where it came from. And, you know, if you were to talk to somebody from Department of Ag or U.S. Department of Ag, they would say, oh no, if you're going to feed garbage, you have to cook it. Well, for the homesteader, I recommend, I don't want to say we like we're an institution or anything, but you don't want a bunch of food laying around on the ground out there. I do not feed in troughs just because it complicates things, but I move around where I feed so that they're not eating from the same spot all the time. And I'm feeding dry bread and hay, you know, and then they're digging up whatever I've planted. So it keeps the environment clean. I if my place smelled like that place did, well, then I couldn't live here. But if you ever come to this place, our place, you will see that, gee, these pigs, for some reason, they don't smell. The cows smell more than the pigs do. Yeah, they do. The chickens smell worse than that. But none of them are very bad. None of them will prevent us from eating outside. What will prevent us from eating outside is when the neighbors come with huge tankers. It's a industrial farm, and they just blow this gross stuff all over the fields next door to me. Then you can't eat outside. It smells so bad. You can't. It'll turn your stomach. It's so bad. But trichinosis, no, I don't think that's been around in a while, and I don't think you will have to worry about that so long as you just don't have a lot of food on the ground. Make sure they're eating everything that you put out for them. If you have more food than you can feed, you can always put it in white buckets and drop it down into a freezer and freeze it in the summertime anyway. And then in the wintertime, you probably won't, you know, at least up here, everything freezes anyway. And if you put out a garbage sickle for the pigs, they will break it down. I have Bengalita pigs, and they are known for turning all kinds of different things into really good, high quality meat and fat. They're kind of known as slow growers, but I'm not sure that's true anymore. People say that. I don't know. People say all kinds of things on the internet, and most of them aren't really engaged in what they're talking about. That's my experience. So trichinosis, no, I don't think you really have to worry about that. But if you do worry about it and you want to do something to prevent you from worrying about it, then cook your garbage. And that would just require taking a garbage can or some sort of vessel that you can get a fire going underneath, or you know, put it on a burner or something like that, and then get it up to 160 degrees, and that kills everything, and then feed it to your pigs. But you know, the thing about that is you're going to feed it out there. Only feed what they're going to eat, because it will lay on the ground, and I think it would defeat the purpose. There you go. That's what I know about trichinosis. Not a whole lot. Never had it. I haven't really heard of anybody getting it in a long, long time, or ever, since I've been raising pigs. Is there another question?
Yeah. This is a really big one, and I don't know if you can answer all of it in this format.
I'll try.
Yes.
I'll try.
This person is wanting to sell pork to friends, family, restaurant, stores in the UP. So it's a long way to the one USDA plant in the whole UP.
Okay.
And they're reluctant to go there.
Okay, I know about that place.
Yeah. Is thinking along the lines, wanting to know about USDA custom exempt, how to get started on it, what exactly can you do with it as far as selling pork?
All right, the list of people you want it to sell to is friends, family, restaurants, and retail stores. Wow, you're going to have a lot of pigs. You're going to have a lot of pigs, because if you're selling to restaurants, in order for them to put your product on their menu, you better have a supply every single week. Every single week. And if you do custom exempt, all right, it's a classification that the USDA gives out. All right, either you're inspected, that means there's a USDA weenie there, a guy with a cap on that says, yep, that pig's living. He's a trained expert to know if pigs are healthy or unhealthy. Or you're uninspected, all right? If you're inspected, that means you get a little stamp on there that says USDA, they call it a button, and you can sell at farmers markets, you can sell to restaurants, and you can sell to retail stores. I'm gonna discourage you here from doing that, because restaurants and retail stores you are up against Gordon Foods and you are up against Food Service of America that is going to sell pork at a price that there's no way that you can compete with that, because you're not able to buy feed at the prices that they can buy it because they buy in massive bulk. You're not able to get subsidies from the US government for your losses, right? You pay them subsidies, but you're not able to get the subsidies. So I would just disregard both of them, restaurants and retail stores. And then the third one was farmers markets. Oh, what they do there to get you by the short ones is they do it on county property, right? And so the county or the township or the city, whatever it is, says, gee, I wonder if we need to comply with anything here. Let us check with our buddies over at the USDA. And they comply, you know, they're going to check with everybody around, even the dog catcher, to see, is there anything you need us to do? And so you're going to have a laundry list of things you're going to have to do with your meat before you can sell it at farmers markets. One is it's definitely going to have to be USDA killed for sure. There's no doubt or no way around that. So you're in the UP, and I know that you have a problem up there with processing, especially you know, a USDA processor. So then you say, okay, well, I'm going to open a shop and I'm going to be USDA custom exempt. Well, think about that for a minute. If you're exempt from inspection, then why do you have to go to the USDA for that exemption? Why don't you just claim that exemption? Because they wouldn't give it if it wasn't your constitutional right to own it. And here's what I mean. Here we go. The Fifth Amendment says that your life, your liberty, and your property is your process, is protected under due process of law. Okay, so if there was a law that said you can't process a pig, a chicken, a cow, a llama, whatever, you can't do that unless you're USDA. If there was a law that said that, which there isn't, then they wouldn't give an exemption. See, so that exemption is kind of froggy. Why do I have to have a USDA guy come once a year that I pay him 140? Well, what was it the last time we paid? I don't remember anymore, but it's a lot of money. You got to pay him every year.
175 now, I think.
175.
It was 75 when we started.
Yeah, they keep biting. And you're going to pay him for that. But then with that exemption, you can only sell it to your friends. And I mean, you can't sell it to restaurants. You can't sell it to retail stores. You can't sell it at farmers markets. So what is that exemption good for? I mean, I do not have an exemption. I did for a while until I caught on to what they were doing. I can butcher anything in my butcher shop and I can sell it to my friends and my customers. They don't have to be related to me. Why can I do that? Because it's my process, and my process is protected under due process of law. Unless they have a law saying I can't do that, then there's nothing they can do to me. Plus, I'm protected on my property by the Fourth Amendment. They can't come up my driveway unless I invite them or they have a warrant. Now, what happens when you enter into a contract with them via custom exempt, USDA custom exempt, you're entering into a contract that you don't need to enter into. And it works for them, but it does not work for you. You don't get anything for your 175 bucks. Nothing. They don't come and inspect you, none of that stuff. Once a year, you got to send your form in and you think, whoa, I'm legal. You know, I paid my 170, I'm golden. Well, you're golden without it. Because for some reason we feel like in order to process an animal, we got to have the government say so on that. That's such baloney. That's such baloney. If you have an animal and you want to process it for food, that's between you and the animal and the person that you're going to process it for. So I would forget restaurants and retail because it's not, you know, it doesn't work out that well. I would just, if you want to start up a butcher shop, then you do it. And you do the best you can with what you have, and you really work on your skills. And when you have customers that come in and see what you're doing, they're going to be your quality control. Because if your place is gross, they're not going to come back. Although I've heard, horror stories about the UP, and I've actually seen some horror in some butcher shops that I've had to visit. You got to do a good job. You just got to do a good job. All right, I can go on and on and on about that, but this is there's a very good video out there, but it talks about entering into these stupid contracts because you feel as though you must, and you don't have to enter into those contracts. If you want to butcher a cow in your backyard, that is your business. That is your business. Now, if you take that cow, let's say you butcher a cow and you have this nice chop and you take it to a restaurant, you say, you want to buy this? And the guy says, yeah, I'll buy that. Well, it's on him because he just bought an uninspected piece of meat. It's not your fault. I mean, you can try and sell an uninspected piece of meat to an inspector. If he buys it, it's on him, right? There's no restriction on where you can sell it. It's who can utilize it, right? That really counts. If you go to a farmer's market, you take it there, the market master comes by and says, well, I don't see a USDA stamp on that. They're gonna tell you can't sell it on county property because they've got all their restrictions. But I don't think that you want to do that anyway. Nowadays, we all have the internet, and you can establish a database of people that you have sold to, and you can put out a blast. Hey, I'm butchering a cow this week. Who needs beef? And you'll have plenty of people coming back and saying, oh, I do. And then they come to the farm and they pick it up from you. That's the way you do it. It's between you and them. It's the same as if you're going to sell puppies, same as if you're going to sell hay. And what I'm telling you right now, I know what I'm talking about because I've been through this. If you take what I'm saying right now and say, gee, I wonder if Mark's telling the truth, and you call some USDA inspector, they're going to say, that ain't true. You got to do business with us. Well, they're a business. That's what they are. They don't provide you with anything. They just say you're safe if you do it this way.
I suggested that this person needs to come to the hog harvest at Randy's and talk with you guys.
Yeah, you're up in the UP hog harvest 2021 22. Come and see
18
us.
through 20 October.
Oh, 18 through 20 October at in Gwynn at Randy Buchler's place.
Shady Grove Farm.
Shady Grove Farm, UP. Come see us. Better yet, take the class because you need to learn how to butcher so you can. You just lost a guy up there. Justin Stulke moved to Iowa. So he was one of the custom processors up there, and you just lost him. He was in Lance. So, and there's another guy, an old guy that's getting ready to retire. I don't even know if he's going to do deer this year. So come and get trained. And get trained.
It's worth the expense.
Yeah, it's
invaluable.
Randy charges $200 for the class.
Yeah. You can't get that for anywhere else.
No.
All right. Haven wanted to know, what is easier to raise, pigs or beef? Which do you feel is more profitable?
That's a loaded question. Which is easier to raise, pigs or beef? And which is more profitable? Well, let's say that you inherited, 1,000 acres of really nice grassland. I would definitely say beef. Let's say that
he has a lot of land at his disposal, possibly. So.
Does he?
Well,
do you know if he does?
Many blessings.
Oh, yeah, but I don't know if they don't graze cattle.
Well, not yet. But they have land.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you have access to areas that you can graze, And if you have access to hay equipment and access to hay for the wintertime, but you also have access to a lot of corn silage. But I tell you what, Haven, if you have grass-fed beef and you start up a database of people who need grass-fed beef, you will never push any of that product in a hole. I
Nope.
guarantee you. And you can get good money for it. And you should come by and talk with me sometime and see my Holsteins and how they're doing on grass. That's what you should do, because you're gonna have people around here tell you, oh no, they won't grow unless you give them, corn and soy powder. That's just not true. You come look at, I got this one beauty and she's doing really well. And a lot of people that have weight problems are going on a keto diet and they need grass-fed beef, grass-fed chicken. You see, the corn that you're feeding to cattle is not only genetically modified so that you can spray Roundup directly on it and it won't kill it. It's also modified so when a cow eats it, their little bodies don't know whether to store the fat or excrete it. Because in the cattle feeding business, they want the cows to get fat. They want them to get big as quickly as possible. So when you eat conventional beef, the residual is passed on to you, and you eat that beef and your body doesn't know whether to store it in fat or excrete it, right? So people who are trying to lose weight got to get way far away from any of the genetically modified stuff, and they have to, like grass, they need to eat grass-fed beef and grass-fed chicken if they can. And the way we do pork is we're plowing up fields and planting, forages for them, turnips and stuff like that, that are not genetically modified. So people do need this. That information is out there, by the way. I'm not telling secrets. That information's out there. I don't know if it's available from Jenny Craig, but it is out there, and people are working it pretty hard. And grass-fed beef is extremely difficult to find. And once you start a database and you get if you got a website going for it and people could, grass-fed beef, Northern Michigan, and they could find it, you would be selling it. In order for you to be able to sell that by the piece, no, I take that back. We'll have to talk about that. You can get it, you can process it at a custom exempt, or if you want to vertically integrate, which I know your father, and we talked about some of this stuff long ago, and I know he's thinking about vertical integration. You should set up a little area where you can knock beef down, hang them up for a while, and then get them turned into hamburger. And every one of those 2-pound hamburger things is worth quite a few bucks if it's grass fed. So we should talk, and I could point you in the right direction. It's doable, but I'm telling you, if you go and you start asking the state how to do it, they're going to push you in the direction of going USDA inspected or custom exempt, and you really don't want either one. You want to take door C, So maybe you ought to come see me. Is there another question?
Yeah, I got one more here for you on my list. Someone was wondering about leaf lard versus back fat. What are they? What are they good for? If you have them, what can you do with them?
Okay. Leaf lard versus back fat. Okay, we're talking pigs, and we're talking the fat on the pig. The pigs we raise are Mangalitzas, and they're known for their fat. The good fat, really good fat. A Mangalitza, if you feed them feed corn, junky feed corn, then the fat will reflect it. It will have that corn stink, and it's just not going to be anything special. But if they're fed on grass, on forages, on small grains, bread, even garbage, if the garbage is not, they're not going to taste like garbage. But if they're corn fed, then you will have poor fat. All right, so the fat that you're asking about is back fat, and I think the name kind of denotes what we're talking about. Hey, I need some quiet in here. On the back, you'll have fat that on a mangalitsa that could be like that, and it's nice, clear, white fat, and it's excellent for all kinds of things. You can make lardo out of it, you can cube it up, and you can use it in cooking, all kinds of things. It can be cured with salt so that it will keep for a long time, pork and beans. And then there's another kind of fat that is called leaf fat. And sometimes it's called kidney fat because it is fat that is surrounding the kidneys on the inside of the animal. So you have the back fat, then you have the backbone, and then on the inside of the animal, inside the rib cage, that's where the leaf fat will be. And when we take a pig apart, a lot of times you just kind of work that out, and it tears away from the inside, and you have this lump of fat, And if you take some of it off and you take it between your fingers, it'll turn into oil very quickly, right? A little bit of heat breaks it down really quick. Back fat has a little bit more stringy, I think, protein strands that run through it a little bit. It's a little bit more stringy. This stuff is like creamy on the inside. And now that's the fat. If we take it and render it down, so a very low heat for a long time until it turns into liquid, that's rendering it down. And then we pour that off, and all the protein's out of it at that point. All the moisture, anything that was stringy is out of it. And it's just clear like butter. And leaf lard out of a mangalitsa that's fed properly, literally you can scoop it out of there with a butter knife, and you can put it on toast and eat it, and it's as good or better, some people would say, than butter, and it's very good. So, and it's highly prized for baking because it does such a good job. I'm not a chef, but raising pastured meats, I wind up talking to a lot of chefs because chefs are trying to get an edge on the next guy. I refer to a lot of times, you don't have to outrun the bear, just the next fattest camper, right? So chefs are like that. They're not gonna outdo the best chefs in the United States, but in a small town like this, they just got to be better than the next guy just to survive. So their edge is coming and getting like grass-fed beef, pasture-raised pork, pastured poultry, because the quality is so much better. And everybody else out there is buying the cheap stuff from Gordon Foods, and their food's all kind of the same, So I do talk with chefs a lot, and for them to get the edge, they have to utilize animal fats, and they have to be animal fats that are not fed corn, because not that it's terrible, it's just like, but everything's fed corn. So, chicken tastes like the beef. The beef tastes, it's all got that corn Mountain Dew flavor.
And corn they make oil out of it, so it makes your fat oilier and more prone to rancidity.
That's true. I hope you got that. With fat that is pasture-based fats, like a grass-based fat or a forage-based fat. When I say forage, I mean things like turnips and field peas and grasses and even corn stalks or sorghum or Sudan grass, stuff like that. We use them for forages. They're green, and those fats will resist rancidity. They will resist it. So we can take the back leg off of a Mangalitsa pig, put some salt on the bone, hang it up, and it will cure. It will actually cure. And we're able to make really nice hams, quite simply, really. But if you feed them, if you feed them corn and soy especially, then the fat is very prone to getting stinky in a hurry. How we doing?
Good. 904.
904. Okay, are there any more questions? Okay, there are no more questions unless somebody's got a parting shot. 16,000 people. Man, that's a big footprint. And we'll keep at this. Keep us tuned in this week, and I'll keep you up to date on my progress with my hearth and stuff like that. And get those questions in so we can have them readily available for next week. And I will see you then. And remember, anyone can farm. Good night.